did you get into this?
You know, it's a long story, and that's the one I'm going to ask you later, too.
Well, Harry told us what a wonderful guy he was. Asked me if I would like to come to work for him because he thought that there was the opportunity to get some further exposure for Kentucky hunting and fishing on radio. I mean, nobody was doing it. It was Harry's idea. I was a junior at UK, as a matter of fact, working at the local radio station, working on the newspaper, doing sports.
Were you going to be in communications, or?
It was going to be in political science. My dad was the newspaper editor. He edited the paper in Frankfurt. And he was the kind of newspaper editor who felt that if you want to learn journalism, I'll teach you, boy, don't go to journalism school. And so I didn't take journalism school, I took political science. But always with the intention of being a journalist. But Harry called, my father died that my junior year in college, and it was necessary for me to stop playing around a lot and begin to make some contributions. But in any event, Harry called me and said, we want to get a radio show started. Would you like to come and try to do it for us? And he arranged it so that I could continue to go to school and work at the department and do the show, and that's the way it happened. After about a year of that, we started thinking about whether there'd be a possibility on television. We decided to try it, put together a show for Wave Television, weekly half-hour show, and we did live in studio. So we were doing radio once a week, and then the television on Wave once a week.
You had a pretty good job with Fish and Wildlife.
It was the best job I ever had.
Okay.
My wife kept insisting that all I did was hunt and fish, which is about what I did, and it was the best job I ever had. I truly was. But then I decided I needed to move on to other things, and did when Kaiser.
Plus, you
home.
said, I remember somewhere you said that your wife wouldn't eat.
Well, she got tired
if
of eating.
If she ate fish and deer all the time, you'd probably still be here.
It was rabbit and bass, but she got tired of eating rabbit and bass, and so we had decided I better look for something else.
Where did you go from there?
Kaiser Aluminum and Chemical Corporation, big international aluminum producer. Joined them in Ravenswood, West by God, Virginia, where we had a very, very big plant. Then they moved me to New York, and I ran the public relations operations in the East, and then they moved me to the corporate headquarters in Oakland.
And then from there?
I had the responsibility for Bank of America's public relations and advertising. Did that for about 10 years, figured out how to do that, left there, and formed my own consultancy, public relations consultancy that focused principally on crisis management and damage control. And ran that pretty aggressively up until about last year. I turned that off, and have now moved on to Pinehurst, North Carolina to write the great American novel.
And your travels around the world, do you miss Kentucky?
Oh, tremendously. I think the bluegrass area is one of the great places in the world. I've had an opportunity to live in some very nice places. In the East, just outside of New York City, and in the San Francisco Bay Area. But I don't think you can beat Kentucky, certainly the bluegrass. We're living in Pinehurst now in North Carolina, but I still, as a place to be, I prefer the bluegrass. And I still think of Kentucky as home. I have family here. I have a brother and two sisters, and I'm back, a couple of times a year, every year.
So do you miss the bass and rabbit for dinner?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do. I haven't had rabbit in ages.
I can imagine the excitement back when this whole Kentucky Afield thing. Do you know who came up with that title, Kentucky Afield?
Well, I thought I did, but I find over the course of my career that
a lot of other people thought they did too.
Well, no, I started to say a lot of other people did as well. But you're never quite, I think you're never quite sure about ideas because so many people contribute to them. No question, best job I ever had. Enjoyed the people the most. And God, they really took awful advantage of me. I was at the time 20, 21, I have awful attitudes. I don't mean it quite that way. But we had been out doing a show on noodling. And we were doing it in Anderson County. And Harry liked to do it, and Ed Adams, who was from there, liked to do it, and J.T. Cox liked to do it. So all these guys were involved. We'd been out doing it. We finished up, and it was late afternoon. So we come back into their favorite restaurant in Lawrenceburg to have a couple of beers and dinner. So they have a little private room, and the private room is just off the main dining room. And there is a wall, and in the wall is this big, looks like a picture window. But they tell me it's a one-way mirror, and that the people on the other side are looking at a mirror, but the people in the room can look out and can't be seen. And they said, well, I'll prove it to you, because I didn't believe them. They said, see that guy out there, this big guy having a couple of beers. I said, thumb your nose at him. And I thought, well, Jesus. So I did that. And then they had me do one or two other things like that. And then all at once, the guy that I thumbed my nose at walked into the room and wanted to know what the heck I thought I was doing. But it wasn't a one-way mirror. It was an open window. God, those guys were,
That's nice.
they were great.
Well, let's say we get back where we get rained on.
Deal.
Good meeting you.
Enjoyed it.
Good
Thank you very
talking
much.
to you
I
again.
enjoyed the ride and the demonstration.
Best job you've ever had.
Best job I've ever had.